Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm going live tonight to talk about red light therapy, which you know I love. You know, I'm always creeping off under that Dermalux for a bit of skin boosting photobiomodulation. And tonight I'm going to be talking about how we may be able to enhance the effects of red light therapy with green tea extract. And this has been flagged up to me. Hang on, I'm just going to bring her in here, by the fabulous Bev from Maysama, which is a skincare range which has products involving a very superior kind of green tea extract. I think it's probably best if I get Bev in here. Get her to explain to you what it is, what she's looking at, what the research is around this, because it's interesting. And it's going to, hi, good evening.
Hello, Alice. Hi.
How are you doing?
Really good, thank you. How are you?
Good, fine. It's filthy weather. I'm sorry I was a couple of minutes late getting on here. I had that thing with the Wi-Fi, but luckily I am on the right one now, I think, and I'm going to get a comment if I can. And do you want to explain, just tell everybody a bit about who you are, how you've come to be doing what you're doing, and why green tea is so very hot right now?
Sure. Well, my background really is in science. I studied microbiology and virology at university, and then I studied in research for a little while, and then my career path took me in a different direction in sales and marketing. And then I finally got around to doing what I should have been doing for a long time, which is working for myself and running my own business. So I started Maysama 2 years ago, and it's lovely because it's brought me right back to the science, which I really, really enjoy. So before we even started Maysama, we did a research collaboration with the Nelson Mandela Institute in South Africa, because I wanted to demonstrate that green Rooibos tea is a true bioactive ingredient, and nobody was using it in cosmetics. Well, you can find Rooibos tea, but very seldom green Rooibos tea.
I didn't even know it was a thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but could you explain the difference? Because I thought if it was Rooibos, it was kind of Rooibos,
Yes.
but yeah.
I think it's a really important point, because I think a lot of people don't perhaps understand what we mean by green tea. So you get black tea, white tea, and green tea. And green tea purely means that it comes from the fresh leaves and it's not oxidized. So green tea as we know it is, well, it comes from Camellia sinensis, which is a plant that's native to China. Green Rooibos tea comes from South Africa. It comes from a different plant. But what it has in common with the normal green tea that we know is that it has a very high polyphenolic content, which corresponds to high.
Sorry, I'm going to keep waving.
Yeah, keep waving at people. I left my glasses off, so I'll let you do all the waving.
Don't worry. A high polyphenolic content. Polyphenols are antioxidants.
Polyphenols correspond to antioxidant content. So Rooibos, as we know, it's a tea, is prepared from, well, the leaves are wet, they're bruised, and then they're left to oxidize in the sun. And that's what gives the tea its lovely kind of rich brown color and that lovely aroma and flavor that we love. But the issue is the oxidation process destroys 90% of the asparagine, which is the main flavonoid or polyphenol in Rooibos. So the green Rooibos tea is prepared from the fresh leaves and they're not oxidized.
Okay.
And that's why it has lots of similarities with green tea as we know it from China. So the first study that we did with the Nelson Mandela Institute was comparing lots of different antioxidants and demonstrating that our green Rooibos tea was a true bioactive ingredient worthy of cosmetic application. And that was really exciting, because the results from that show that it was comparable to green tea in terms of its antioxidant potential, but also how it behaved in the cell. Because antioxidants behave in different ways. You'll have some that are water soluble, some that are oil soluble, and they have different targets within the cell.
Right. Is it quite hard to prove that something's biologically active in terms of a cosmetic ingredient? I mean, 'cause that's quite a claim, isn't it?
It's an interesting thing, because a lot of the antioxidant assays just see whether antioxidants can scavenge free radicals, but what they don't check is whether they can actually permeate the cell membrane, accumulate within the cell, and then perform their antioxidant potential inside the cell. And if they can, that's what we call bioactive. So we first demonstrated that green Rooibos tea was a bioactive ingredient. And then we compared it to different antioxidants to see how it behaved. And it was lovely to see the parallels with green tea. So antioxidants scavenge free radicals, but I think the tea polyphenols are particularly interesting, green tea polyphenols, because the cell also has its own antioxidant defense mechanism. And antioxidants can work with that, or they can work against it. And what we know about green tea is that it supports the cell's own antioxidant defense mechanisms, as well as scavenges free radicals in its own right. And green Rooibos tea did exactly the same thing, whereas other antioxidants like resveratrol didn't do that.
Wow. Okay. So you do all this research before you've even and now before you've even sort of put the brand together, because what we are going to get on to talking about in a minute is where this all plays into red light therapy, which is what I was really interested in.
Exactly.
In talking about, because I mean, red light therapy is just massively popular at the moment, because in the treatments world, which as you know is where I spend my time, you know, it's been around for a while, but it seems to have kicked off enormously in the past 5 years in terms of people becoming interested in what it can actually do in terms of really regenerating the skin, and how you can get home use devices that may be able to help with that as well. So I mean, could you explain
a bit about how
your
red
point
light
of view,
therapy
how red light therapy works,
and the green tea connection comes in? Absolutely. So I mean, red light is part of nature's defense anyway against ultraviolet light. So if you look at red light in sunlight, it's high in the morning and it gives us a preparative effect against the onslaught of UV light. And then it's high again late in the afternoon and it gives us a reparative effect. But the beauty is now, of course, we can harness this red light benefit from LED devices, whether we go to a clinic or whether we use an at-home device like a red LED light face mask or a panel. So if we look at how red light works, it's an anti-inflammatory and it's a biostimulator. So it effectively activates the mitochondria in the cells, which are the organelles responsible for producing energy.
What are the mitochondria doing? They're like, are they like the batteries in the cell?
Exactly. Sort of they are the power generators. They generate energy in the form of ATP, and that ATP then drives all cellular processes from cell growth and proliferation right through to protein synthesis. Which includes collagen production, which of course is pro-aging.
Yes, which is what we're after.
Exactly. So there's plenty of studies around red light therapy and how that helps the growth and reproduction of the dermal fibroblast cells, which are the cells responsible for producing collagen. So it increases fibroblast proliferation is the term that they tend to use in the science world. So I think probably we should explain perhaps what the limitations are of red light therapy before we go on to how green tea can help.
Because it's generally thought to be very safe and very easy to tolerate by pretty well everybody. So I mean, are there any downsides?
Well, there's no contraindications as such, but it is possible to, in effect, have too much of a good thing. So it is possible to overdo your red light therapy. So there's a biological effect called hormesis, and that talks about you can explain that. So it's basically when you have a stimulus, and red light's a stimulus, and that elicits a biological response. And if we get more of that stimulus, then we get a bigger response, but a peak is reached. Comes a point, comes a point where it then starts to inhibit biological processes. And the reason that happens with red light is because you get a build-up of free radicals. So I think that's a really, really important point. So the more the free radicals build up, the more the red light becomes inefficient effectively. So that's the crux of the matter, really. It's how many free radicals do we have? Because there's a renowned LED scientist at Harvard University called Michael Hamblin who talks about free radicals and whether they're beneficial or not to the cell. And it purely depends on the level. If we have low levels, they act as signaling molecules and they drive cellular processes. If we have excess free radicals, that's when we get into issues. So under normal circumstances, our body's natural antioxidant defense mechanisms, which includes the enzyme superoxide dismutase, you may have heard of.
Yes.
So that would mop up the free radicals produced
Okay.
by LED light in the mitochondrial membrane. But if it becomes overwhelmed, then it leads to a condition of oxidative stress, and
Okay,
prolonged
which is
oxidative
negative.
stress
Yeah. Yeah.
then starts to lead to damage to cellular components, so lipids, proteins, and DNA. And if the cell
Okay.
can't repair itself, then the cell will enter a program of cell death called apoptosis.
Yeah.
So red light is,
Just picking up from Lorraine. Lorraine, no, it's not bad to use red light therapy every day, but it's why some of the stronger things, like if you go to a clinic, they will only give you like a 30-minute session.
yeah, well, the timing is really, really important. So when you first have that exposure to red light, that releases a burst of free radicals, which are beneficial to cell health. But
Yeah.
extended exposure to high fluence red light then would start to become inefficient, because it then doesn't produce so much ATP and the free radicals building up. So it doesn't drive the collagen production so much, because you haven't got so much ATP produced. And potentially then, yes, you can do damage to mitochondria if you're not supplementing that with antioxidants. So that's really where the antioxidants come in. It's a complementary or combination therapy, which
Okay. So how do people work out how to get the sort of the best out of their red light therapy treatment?
Well,
Is adding in an antioxidant, which seems to be the obvious answer, is that the thing to do?
yes. I mean, the first thing is don't overdo the red light therapy. So if your manufacturer says the recommended treatment time for your device is 10 minutes, stay within
Yeah.
that treatment time. I think lots of people think more is more, more is better. It's
Yes.
not, sometimes less
Yeah.
is more. And when we talk about overdoing it, we're talking about in a single session. So these radicals don't hang about. They've got a short shelf life. Okay,
Yeah.
so once your session's gone, those start to die off. But you don't want to keep doing your red light therapy in the same session for a long period of time. Just stick to what the manufacturer says. Secondly, the combination therapy will help you. So this is using 2 or more agents that have complementary action to improve the outcome. And in this instance, we're looking at red light that produces free radicals and antioxidants that act as free radical scavengers to mop up the free radicals. So they have complementary action.
So you get
give you a better outcome. It extends the efficacy of the action spectrum of your red light therapy device.
Okay, how interesting, because I knew of because most people say, well, how should they use the red light thing, a device? I would say you use it on clean skin. Ideally, you should have a clean face and nothing in the way, no oils or creamy moisturizers to stop the light, because they would make the light refract. And whereas, but if you use a plain hydrating serum, that can be helpful, can't it?
Exactly. You definitely do want to avoid oils. So not everything will be ideal. If it's labeled as antioxidant or green tea, you wouldn't want to use a green tea moisturizer or a green tea clay mask, for example. So nothing with emollients in that are going to block light penetration. But humectants aid light penetration. So aloe vera, like the Maysama serum, is formulated in a base of pure aloe vera gel. So it's a gel-based serum, not an oil-based serum. And aloe vera, glycerin, sodium hyaluronate, those are all humectants that will aid light
so they're going
penetration.
to bind the water in, and that will sort of help the light itself. But the antioxidants would be working in a very different way, wouldn't they? Mopping up.
Exactly, they're the accelerator.
The free radicals.
So you've got the humectants, which are basically helping light penetration. And then you've got the antioxidant, green tea or green Rooibos tea, which is the accelerator for the red light therapy. It allows you to improve the outcomes. There was a paper written by a German scientist called Andre Sommer in 2009, which indicated that he combined green tea with photobiomodulation, which is red light therapy. And the results for skin rejuvenation were realized 10 times faster. Now that was great in terms of proving a concept, but it was a very brief study.
And it was only one patient, wasn't it? It
was one patient, but then his work has been further substantiated by going on to, for his Alzheimer's work. So for Alzheimer's, again, he combined green tea with photobiomodulation to treat the progression of the disease. So you get the buildup of amyloid fibrils in the brain. And when he treats that with red light therapy, it helps reduce those amyloid fibrils. But when he introduced the green tea antioxidant, again, you got a further reduction. So it shows how these two have this complementary action and work better.
Goodness. Okay. And I mean, is it just green tea, or would vitamin C do the trick? Would I think somebody, Lorraine, was saying she's taking glutathione. Would supplements of antioxidants help? Is it better with a topical?
Gosh, lots of questions. No, it's a really good question.
Okay, right,
it's a really good question.
First.
So, I mean, there are further studies around other antioxidants. In fact, there's some new data that's come from the University of Santa Maria in Brazil, which looks at co-treatments of guarana with photobiomodulation. I absolutely love this study because it's an in vitro study, which, you know, for my nerdy brain is fantastic because it tells you exactly what's happening at the cell biology level. So that was really interesting. It's got controls in it. So we're looking at, you know, photobiomodulation with guarana co-treatments and without. So guarana is a plant that comes from Brazil, which again, like green Rooibos tea, has a very similar profile to green tea. It's very, very high polyphenolic content.
Yeah.
And what we saw from that study is, as you would expect from using an antioxidant, we've got a reduced oxidative stress, so reduced damage to lipids, proteins and DNA, and a corresponding increase in cell survival rate. And we see an increase in the fibroblast proliferation. We get that with red light, but it was enhanced above just using the red light alone.
Okay.
And then something new that was picked up is that it regulates the inflammatory proteins. So it downregulated the pro-inflammatory cytokines and upregulated the anti-inflammatory cytokines. So together that's enhancing the anti-inflammatory effects of your red light. So, you know, there's so much.
Fab. Sorry, I'm hanging on. I hope everybody else is following this. I think I'm going to need to watch it again.
The science is important, though. You know, I think a lot of people need to know that there is science behind this combination of therapy, that it does work. But to answer your to answer your question in full, you know, do all antioxidants work? I think there's certainly, you know, the science would suggest that most antioxidants would bring you a benefit, but it also supports that green tea polyphenols would give you a clear advantage. Now, the reason for that is down to the target of the antioxidant. So if
right, regroup. Right, so green tea is giving a better effect because of what they're targeting. And what are they targeting? Not just any of the free radicals.
Yeah, they target the free radicals within the mitochondrial membrane. So the red light stimulates mitochondrial respiration, generates ATP and free radicals, but the free radicals generated by mitochondrial respiration is the superoxide radical. Now that is really reactive and really toxic, and that's where we rely on our body's natural antioxidant defense mechanism, the superoxide dismutase, to come in and convert that very toxic free radical into something less toxic. Now, why green tea and green Rooibos tea are so special is that they are superoxide dismutase mimetics. They mimic the action of superoxide dismutase. If you're using something like vitamin C, they help to lock up free radicals in other parts of the cell, but not in the mitochondria, where the where the red light is producing the free radicals. So it's the green tea that acts at the source. That's the difference.
Okay, this is so fascinating, Bev. This is why I wanted to get you on here and have a good old dig into this live, because we had a long conversation about this, and it is really interesting. And Tom, I'm sorry if we've lost you. We'll have to find a simple way of putting this down. I put the names of the scientists in there. It was Andre Sommer and Dan Zhu who did this study back in 2009. Whoever was asking on that. Right, so we've got green tea having a clear advantage, and as a topical, not as a
as a topical. I mean, the studies that are out there are generally in relation to topical antioxidants or in vitro studies. So you know, I can only really relate to what studies are out there.
Yeah, of course. So we've talked about how you wouldn't use just any green tea product, because if it was a moisturizer or something, it wouldn't be good. You want a serum
Yeah,
that is not going to have any oils or
exactly.
cream element
Yes.
to it. And
Yes. Yeah.
why your serum Beyond 50 Skin, I'll talk about, or I have talked about different
Hello,
LED
Cindy.
light devices last time. I know Dermalux has done a head-to-head with Saluma, but
Yeah.
this is Bev's live, so I'm going to keep off that.
I should maybe say a little bit more actually about
Yeah,
our green
go on.
tea
Yes,
extract, because
yeah,
you know, we mentioned red Rooibos and green Rooibos and the difference, but actually Maysama's green Rooibos extract is different again because it's an active
okay,
pharmaceutical ingredient. So
right,
it goes through a patented extraction process. So it comes from sustainable farming, and then it
yes,
goes through a patented extraction process, which increases its antioxidant potential 70-fold. So if you take
wow,
red Rooibos, that
yeah,
has 0.2% asparagine, which is the main antioxidant flavonoid that we associate with
yeah,
Rooibos. Green Rooibos would have 2%, and then Maysama's green Rooibos extract has 14% asparagine. So
wow.
it's really, really high. And there's no other beauty brand using this green Rooibos extract within cosmetics. It's an API ingredient, and that's why it's special, Alice.
Amazing. So it's pretty good on its own, quite aside from red light. Sorry, I know we've come at this from a red
Exactly,
light
yes.
angle, but
Yes, yeah, it's a potent antioxidant. Yeah, exactly.
okay. So backtracking for people who've just joined, why I wanted to talk to Bev, who began life as a scientist rather than in cosmetics, and when you became interested in this green tea extract, this green Rooibos tea extract, you put it through all this research before you even. So what was the
Exactly.
point
Before
at which
we
you thought you have got
committed
something
to
that you're
launching a
gonna?
skincare brand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
What brought you through to that?
Well, I had a lot of problems with my skin when I hit menopause at 50, and I went to a dermatologist, and they put me on antibiotics, and I thought, oh my goodness, I can't carry on. You know, this is not a long-term
Sure.
strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I became very interested in skincare, and you know, wanted to kind of fix this for myself. And I think, you know, as most people start out, we maybe start watching YouTubers and learning from
Sure,
YouTubers.
sure.
And I remember watching a YouTuber in the States called Gothamista,
Yes.
and she talked a lot about Korean beauty. And she picked up one product and said, oh, this product has Rooibos in. I love Rooibos in skincare. And I always drink Rooibos tea because it helps to manage my rosacea. So
Oh,
I thought, that's interesting. So I started to look for Rooibos in skincare, and you don't find it very often. And nobody was really using green Rooibos. So that kind of sparked my interest. And I thought, gosh, that would make an interesting skincare line. You know, why is nobody doing this? Because I was aware that the green Rooibos has a higher antioxidant potential than red Rooibos. So I then got in contact with the South African Rooibos Council, and they put me in touch with the Nelson Mandela Institute in South Africa, who conduct most of the studies on Rooibos tea as a beverage, but nobody had looked at it as a cosmetic ingredient. And that's when we put the collaboration in place and said, well, let's have a look at this. You know, would this make a good skincare brand? Is it a true bioactive ingredient? So that started me on my journey. And when I got the results to that, they were so compelling, I thought this has to be done. So I launched Maysama. My first product was the serum.
That is completely fascinating. I've got about 5 other questions off it, but I think I'll try and stay on track for now. I mean, so well, this was a slight red herring of a question, but there's a kind of trend for DIY skincare.
Oh yes, yeah.
You can't just slap. Could you find them? Green Rooibos tea bags.
This comes up time and time again.
Skin.
Yeah,
I'm very interested to talk.
Yeah, I'm very interested to talk about that, Alex, because it comes up a lot. So there's many reasons really why cosmetics will serve you better. So if we take, first of all, potency, an extract is only as good as the extraction process. So if you take green tea that you drink, you know, tea is sold on the basis of its flavor profile, not on the basis of its performance. Whereas a cosmetic green tea is sold on the basis of its antioxidant potential. So a cosmetic ingredient will always serve you better than a tea beverage that, you know, tea bags on your face.
Of course, yeah.
And then don't forget, you know, what we said about Maysama's extraction process.
Extraction process, you've had to standardize it, because if you've got a natural ingredient, it's quite hard to get a sort of standardized sort of thing
Exactly.
out of it,
Yes,
isn't
yes.
it? Plus, you've
well,
got
there's so that's the first reason, that the potency, and we talked about the extraction process with Maysama being a painted extraction process that concentrates the antioxidant potential. The second is purity. Now we're actually working with Andre Sommer now. We have a research collaboration in place with Andre Sommer, because we're looking to optimize protocols for the use of our green tea extract with red light therapy. So that's exciting, that's going on. But one of the comments that he made is that he's really struggled to source green tea extracts which are pure. So quite often, even if he sources an organic green tea, it can have contaminants, it can have high levels of heavy metals. Now the beauty of a pharmaceutical ingredient, and Maysama's green Rooibos extract is an API, an active pharmaceutical ingredient, is that it's consistently high quality and has a low heavy metal content. So you've got the purity element as well. Then you've got the stability element. So if you make up your own fresh green tea and put that in the fridge, every time you open that bottle, you're exposing it to air. And if it's in a clear bottle, it's exposed to light. And antioxidants are very susceptible to degradation by light and by air. And with our serum, I can't see myself because I've got lots of comments in front of me, but
tap them and they should vanish down. But
so the serum is actually housed inside an airless pouch inside a lacquered glass bottle, so it's got double protection from light and air. So this is airless technology. So if you do see a serum in a clear bottle with a dropper and it's an antioxidant, you know you're going to get degradation of the antioxidant over time. This is protected. It's an API ingredient. Of course, we're going to protect it. We want you to get the very best. So there's that. And there's one final point on that in terms of making up your own, which is the product penetration. So with most serums, you'll have active ingredients which aid product penetration. And certainly we have those within the Maysama serum. So it's those four things: potency, purity, stability, and product penetration. Cosmetics will serve you better than DIY products.
No, they always will. But thank you for spelling it out. So if you want to use the serum with a red light device, do you just pop it on and jump under it?
Yeah, there is a recommended protocol, which is cleanse your skin first, apply the antioxidant serum, allow 15 to 20 minutes to allow that antioxidant to get into your skin. Again, we've discussed this with Professor Andre Sommer, and he agrees, apply it before your red light therapy. Allow time for the antioxidant to get into your cells. Then do your red light therapy for the recommended time. After that, no need to wash off the antioxidant. If it's at the beginning of the day, the antioxidants are going to serve you well anyway. And if it's at the end of the day, they're still going to serve you well because they'll do antioxidant repair overnight. But after that, you can then continue with the rest of your skincare routine, whether that's putting on an SPF in the morning or putting on a retinol in the evening. So that's the recommended protocol.
And complete blank. That was a really interesting question I was going to ask. So while I attempt to remember it, so where can people find your lovely serum, and how much does it cost?
Well,
I'll put all this in the caption as well when we finish.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we have a website which is maysama.com, and we sell internationally. We, if we've got people watching from the US and Canada, we actually hold stock in the USA as well. And we have a dedicated website for the US and Canada, which is the same address, maysama.com/US. So we have set up a discount code today for your followers, Alice, which is Alice10. So that gives everybody 10% off. It's £46. And if they use code Alice10, that would give them 10% off.
Just write it down to get it the right way round. I got one of my codes the wrong way round the other week, and then I know we were supposed to be doing this live last week, and that would have been we might have snapped into the tail end of your Black Friday thing. So
which is why I put this in place for you.
Missed it. This is a really good opportunity to try it and really know. So can you use a your serum with a vitamin C, given that they're doing slightly different things on the skin?
Absolutely.
And
The
how
more
would you combine them?
Yeah, the more antioxidants, the better, really, because antioxidants love to work together. They're synergistic. So the more antioxidants you have, it's not just 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 or 5. They actually help each other. Now with vitamin C, if you're talking about L-ascorbic acid, that's water soluble. Rooibos actually has 187 different antioxidant compounds. So some are water soluble, some are oil soluble. So it certainly, but it does target, free radical damage within the cell membrane, which L-ascorbic acid wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the order, that actually just depends on the pH in terms of which way around you would apply it, because you should ideally work from low pH to high pH. Yeah. So your vitamin C serum is L-ascorbic acid. It's more acidic than Maysama's Green Rooibos Press Serum, so you would apply it first. Yeah. If you're using a vitamin C derivative, it's less acidic than Maysama serum, so you would apply it afterwards.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. And I was just thinking, of course, I ought to know that how synergistic they work, because there's so many vitamin C serums cram in vitamin E, but also ferulic acid has that sort of massive synergistic effect with vitamin C, doesn't it? So,
yes, that's so true.
Okay, so this is a plus and product rather than an either or.
Yes,
isn't it,
I mean,
really?
If somebody is sensitive to vitamin C, they may say, well, actually, I'm happy just to work with Maysama Green Rooibos Press Serum. I haven't used a vitamin C for a long time, but I'm starting to use one now that my skin is in much better health. But when my rosacea flare-ups, I just didn't want to go near vitamin C. So
oh, really? Yeah,
it's horses for courses.
You'd want to sort of get it down first, wouldn't you? B was asking, how long does the code last? Have we
indefinitely.
That? I will put it indefinitely. Ooh,
indefinitely.
Lucky people. I'll certainly put that up. And are you going to be doing research into, have you already got research underway into the kind of enhancement of effects you get from red light therapy with having,
we've got
green tea serum on the face? I mean, are you doing like split face studies to see,
well, those are clinical trials. We're not at the clinical trial stage. We're definitely at the research stage. So, for me, my background, as I said, is science, and I love in vitro studies. We may do some topical studies, but it won't be like a full-blown clinical trial at this stage. But it's really sort of designing best protocols and proving a concept at this stage, and maybe looking at different antioxidants in the mix. So we're working with our research partners in South Africa, which is the Nelson Mandela Institute. They're the experts on Rooibos and other antioxidants. And we're also working with Professor Andre Sommer, and that's about optimizing protocols for red light therapy, because he's a specialist in the red light therapy arena.
Amazing. So I think we're probably going to hear quite a bit more about this in due course.
I'm sure
as
you will.
Studies come along.
Yes.
Goodness, thank you, Bev. It's so thrilling to have got to talk to you, heard in detail about this, and to find somebody like you who's doing something with a really different ingredient, and at this stage of research at it. So thank you very much indeed for joining. I will.
Thank you so much for having me, Alice.
I'll save this. I'll try and put it as a collaboration if we can do this. And if people want more detail on the science, they will find a good deal of this and links to it on your website, won't they?
Yes, I've written a couple of blogs about this subject, and I'm sure there's more to come.
Yeah, that may be better than me attempting to explain what I think I've heard, which could lead to some awful misunderstandings. But I heard enough to know that this is just really fascinating, and that it's something to keep an eye on for future. So thank you, Bev. Speak soon.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye.
Bye.